Hey team, happy Friday. Diving right into things here. I didn't give you guys much of a heads up, but I'm going live this afternoon. I haven't seen you in a bit. So number one, I knew I had to do it because of that. But also, I've been spending more time out there on the interwebs listening to people talk about nutrition, especially just the general public, and what they're up to and how they're approaching weight loss and healthy habits and all that stuff. And as much as we talk about a tracking based approach, as much as we talk about flexible dieting and using the numbers to create structure and all that stuff, so many people still don't know it's a viable thing. They still think they got to cut out all their carbs to lose weight and be healthier, or even now, vegetables. Like vegetables are like public enemy number one right now, which is just wild to me. That is literally the thing that I thought for the longest period of time um, we could all agree on was healthy, but times are changing, and the solution isn't being mean or uh, just dismissing anyone's thoughts. It's showing them a better way, and the better way is an objective based approach that creates the structure and uses the science of nutrition and the calories and macronutrients someone's consuming to set them up on a plan that is evidence based, gets them results, is repeatable, leans into the things that actually influence body composition and overall health, and going about it that way. So today, I'm going to spend some time teaching a little bit more about how we set macros in the Nutrition Coaching Academy, as well as do a little giveaway and that type of thing. If you're interested in nutrition coaching, you never checked out our program, before I dive into today's live, make sure you go to this link right here when we're done, or even pop off if you'd like, and check out the program. In 90 days, not only will you understand the science of nutrition, but you'll have this business side of things on lock, which is just fantastic. No one teaches you that stuff. And it's our mission to give you all the tools and strategies to be able to do the business side of things, get clients, create a coaching system, all that type of stuff. Check that out here. As well as, hey, one thing I'll do during today's call, or at least collect names for it, is raffle off something. I love giving back to you guys, and this community is fantastic. We're well over the 10,000 subscriber mark now on the channel, which is just mind blowing to me. I literally started this it was an old powerlifting channel of just like my training. It had like 31 subscribers on it. I started posting nutrition coaching content. It actually went down for a little bit. And now over the last 4 years, we're just cruising, getting better all the time. Hopefully you guys are noticing the video quality is getting better. The topics we're talking about, all that type of stuff. Really thankful for you guys. I will raffle something off. It'll either be, there's some good stuff that we've created over the years. From Passion to Profit, our actual physical book. I can send you one of those. I can also give you the Nutrition Coaching Academy nutrition coaching system in terms of like all of our resources in one place, as well as the 5 client formula, which is our social media course for nutrition coaches. I'll raffle one of those off and you can decide what you want. But here's what you need to do. As I'm going through today's live, and I'm going to be on here for the next 10 minutes, engage, participate, ask me questions, just fill me in on where you're coming from, that type of stuff. It helps the channel grow, and make sure you hit that like button, and I'll include you in the raffle. But let's dive into today's topic, setting macros. The thing about, this is called a bunch of different things in terms of like a tracking based approach, flexible dieting, if it fits your macros. It's essentially taking, way back when we used to just food journal, right? Like you'd write down what you're eating, which is a great awareness tool for making better decisions, balancing your meals and your snacks and all that type of stuff. But technology has taken things to the next level. It's getting better all the time. But specifically around, 25 years ago, the only way to create even a meal plan or a structured nutrition plan was like university-based software. Like dietitians would have setting up a meal plan for someone based on their requirements. Now consumers can do that in the middle by tracking their food and taking a closer look at the objective side of things, the energy that food provides, as well as where that energy comes from, the macronutrients, large components of our food, protein, carbohydrates, and fat that supply those calories. And they can start to track that in a way that allows them to shoot for daily targets or totals based on their goals and requirements that'll allow them to reach their goals. And in terms of the science of body composition and athletic performance, those daily totals and making sure that they're aligned with what we want to achieve are the biggest influencers of results. So for nutrition coaches, managing that stuff is one of the most important things you can do. And that's where flexible dieting comes in. So when you set up a client on a nutrition plan, you want to get a better sense of how much energy are they burning on, a normal basis, as well as, so how much energy are they burning roughly on average? No 2 days are the same, but most days are pretty typical when we take a look at a big picture view, so that we then can give them an amount of food that falls in line with their goals. And ideally an amount of total food, as well as where that food is coming from, that falls in line with what they want to do body composition wise, and improvements in their overall health. And that's where setting some macros comes in. We're essentially creating some categories around, like, targets around the nutrients that we need to be consuming to get better fitness and overall health, results. So we're setting numbers around protein, carbohydrates, and fat, which are going to be a function of energy and calories, right? It's almost like calories are your total financial budget and how much money you have to spend, where your macronutrients are where that money comes from within the budget. Is it your mortgage? Is it like everyday spending? Is it like, cost of living, like food? I hate to use the food analogy while we're talking about food. It's like Inception. Is it like, food and transportation, or is it like just like entertainment-based stuff, like in terms of making up your budget? So we set some numbers based on that stuff. What most people are doing incorrectly, and this is what we try to overcome in the Nutrition Coaching Academy, is that they set these numbers based on what the textbook says they should be, and not what people are actually doing. So there's optimal levels for people based on their body weight and activity levels of where these macros should be. But if you set them for an individual just based on that, you kind of, number one, you overlook what they're currently doing, which is an issue from a coaching perspective. Protein's probably the best example. If someone's, getting into strength training, they should be eating, in most cases, like 1.5 to 2.5 grams per kilogram of protein per day. That's based on their body weight and based on the fact that they're, becoming a strength athlete and the adaptations that come along with that and getting stronger and gaining muscle. But if you just say, hey, okay, well, you should be at like 2 grams per kilogram, and we set you there, we have no idea where someone like started from, right? It's almost like the best case scenario. And a lot of times this distance between the two things is way too much for someone to overcome. Like their habits, knowledge, and current like know-how just aren't going to be able to catch up. So we almost want to get a sense of, like, we're setting these numbers, what someone is doing now and what their nutrient intake typically looks like. Is we're like setting up a goalpost around one of those. Like, we want to use what they're currently doing versus where they should be, to gauge a starting place for first setting their macros. Again, we can just, all we're doing is setting a starting place. We can adjust this through time, but we want to get a better sense of what they're doing right now. So what I would typically do, and this is, we have the optimal levels, which for most people at maintenance calories is going to be 1.5 to 2.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. For carbohydrates, it's roughly between 3 to 5 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram of body weight, and that's around maintenance levels. And again, protein and carbohydrates supply the same amount of energy in the diet, both at 4 calories per gram of those nutrients. Fat is more than double in terms of it supplies 9 calories per gram. 9 calories per gram. And for most people at maintenance calories, they should be consuming around 0.5 on the low end to 1.5 grams of fat. If they're higher in a surplus, it's probably closer to that 1.5, but that's the range per day of how much fat they should be consuming. So those are kind of like our optimal levels over here. But what we want to do is get them tracking for 3 to 5 days of what they're currently doing right now. If you're listening to this and you have never set your own macros or done anything tracking-based approach, also, you could do this with clients or yourself. Start tracking your intake for 3 to 5 days and get a sense of what are the averages for calories and those macronutrients over that period of time. Compare what those are to the ranges that are optimal, which I just laid out, and start to set some numbers based on like filling up the calories would be the biggest thing, because macronutrients are based on the amount of energy we're consuming in our diet, right? So the first thing we typically do is like set protein, but from there, fill up the rest based on how you compare to the optimal levels. So for the most part, like let's say, for example, I am 80 kilos and roughly, like if I'm 80 kilos and I wanted to be, losing a bit of weight, I could put my, calculate my BMR, which is like 1800, add in some energy due to exercise, and it's probably like 400, 500 calories over the day, that type of thing. My maintenance calories are around 2,400, which means like deficit wise, I'm probably going to be, or even 2,500, going to be closer to 2,200 to be in a deficit, a 10% deficit. That's kind of like what the textbook says I should be doing. Based on that 80 kilos, if I start my weight, if I start filling those calories with macronutrient targets, I'd start with protein. I'd set it at 2 grams per kilogram, which is going to be around 160 grams at 80 kilos. Probably then carbohydrates and fat be a somewhat equal mix between the two. And I'm probably looking at like 275 grams of carbs and 70 grams of fat within the 2,200 calories. Because I've taken, the 2,200 minus 160 times 4. And then I have, which is 320 and 640. So it's like 2,200 minus 640. I have the rest to play with. Then I move those numbers, and that's where I come up with the 275 and 70. Those are just quick numbers. What I'd rather you guys do, though, I think it's just as accurate and probably more effective from a client perspective, is track my intake and see that on a daily basis, I'm only getting 135 grams of protein, 310 grams of carbs on average, and 90 grams of fat, and then start to set numbers based on that. So maybe it's like 150 grams of protein because I'm moving everything up, 250 grams of carbs because I got to adjust this a little bit. And then from that, like 80 grams of fat because I'm eating higher fat than I normally would and bringing that into range. Those are like when we're setting up the goalposts between those two things. We want to get a sense of what the textbook says someone should do, as well as what they're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. And this comes with pros and cons as well. But basing the numbers on some sweet spot between those and adjusting through time. I wouldn't lean into too much just based on what the textbook says, because in most cases, it doesn't account for like underreporting and what someone's actually doing. So we set them up on numbers that are too far away from what they're currently doing, as well as from what they need to be doing at the moment to get to reach their goals. And sometimes they go backwards, and it's not great for business. It really, really isn't. So keep that in mind. That's it, gang. That's how I would set macronutrient targets for fat loss. Take home message: use what your clients and yourself are currently doing as a goalpost to gauge the best place for starting numbers, just as much with what the textbook says they should do, and you'll be in a really good place. If you're looking at getting into nutrition coaching and you've never checked out our program as well, make sure to hit that link. It's also in the description, and check it out. You'll be in a great place in 90 days. That's it for today, gang. Not tons of engagement, but we'll get you next time. Okay, bye.